Hello and welcome to Gibsie's Guide to Rugby, the best place for Boys of Tommen fans to learn everything that they need to know about rugby. Firstly, let's start with positions. The positions you know and love. 13 is for people where Broken Willies play, aka Johnny Kavanagh. He plays outside centre. They're normally fairly fast but powerful ball carriers of the ball. Hughie, who plays number 10, they are the dictators of play, kind of a bit like an American football quarterback. They'll kick the ball, pass the ball, and just control the game from the start. Then you have 12, which is Patrick Feely. He'll play on the inside of Johnny and connect Hughie and Johnny, so it all goes through him between those two. Again, slightly bigger ball carrier, but maybe has a wee bit more of a pass to him to get the ball to Johnny. And then, of course, the most important position you'll know and love is number 7. Number 7 is the most important position on the pitch because that's where I play. It's in the back row. We tackle everything. We go to every single ruck and we make sure that the backs get the ball and score the tries when we do all the hard work. Now, in rugby, there are 15 positions on the pitch. So besides those 4, you have the props, which are number 1 and 3. These are big bastards, big massive boys. And their main job really is to just push people back, knock people over, and win the ball back. You then have the hookers, not in that way, which is your number 2, which is in between the middle of the props, which are 1 and 3. And their main job is to throw the ball in at a line out and to hook the ball back in a scrum whenever you're pushing against each other. And I'll explain what a scrum is later on in the video. You then have your 2 locks or second rows, which are number 4 and 5. They're normally the big lanky fuckers, the tallest ones on the pitch. Their main job is to get thrown up in the line out to win the ball back. They'll also carry the ball a wee bit around the pitch and also are pretty good at knocking people over. You then have the flankers. Obviously, I'm one of them. You have a 6 and a 7. Both of them are flankers. One is open side and one is blind side. 6 is on the blind side. They will normally play with the ball closest to the side of the pitch. If the scrum is on the side of the pitch, they'll be closer to the side. Then you'll have the open side, which is me, which is the person who'll run across to the pitch where there's more space, which is where the ball normally goes, and they're normally the faster one of the 2. Number 8 is a big ball carrying position, which is also where me, not Gibsie, plays, which is a big ball carrier. They're the ones at the back of the scrum. They'll often pick up from the scrum, and they're used as a big ball carrier. They're normally fairly quick, but not as fast as the backs, but they're a bigger ball carrier, and they'll carry the ball as much as possible. You then have the number 9, who's the scrum half, who also similar to the 10 dictates the play, but not quite as much as the 10. They'll get the ball out to the 10, or pass the ball to the scrums, and they'll control who's coming around and who gets the ball from the back of rucks and scrums. Then, of course, you have 10, which is where Hughie plays, again, like a quarterback, dictates the play, passes the ball. You have 12, which is Feely, who is the inside centre, and Johnny, who's the outside centre. They're both centres, both good at ball carrying, both good at playing the ball outside, but Johnny would be the main ball carrier, and Feely would be the one who would carry the ball and pass the ball more, rather than carrying it as much. You then have your wingers, which are 11 and 14. These are the fastest guys on the pitch. Nowhere near my speed, so I can't catch most of them. They're the ones who'll score a lot of the tries because they'll get on the outside and get round the outside of the team and score in the corners. You then have the fullback, which is a wee bit like a sweeper in hockey if you've ever played hockey. They're the last line of defence, are the ones that if the guy gets through, they'll be able to tackle them. They'll also then catch the ball off kicks and return kicks quite a lot, so they're always quite a good kicker, normally the second best kicker to the 10. Next, we're going to get into the basic outline of rugby, the basic rules and what rugby is all about. It's a mix of football, wrestling, chaos, just everything all in one, but we don't wear any pads because we don't believe in that pussy shit. So whenever we're tackling, it's body-to-body collisions. It is a remarkably physical sport. But essentially, there's 2 teams of 15. The main goal is to obviously score more points than your opposition. You can score points in a number of ways. One way you can do it is by scoring a try, which is when you carry the ball over and put it down past the line where the posts are, but it can be anywhere along those lines. The next way of scoring is through a penalty kick, which if you get a penalty for a serious foul, you'll be able to kick the ball through the posts as long as it's within distance, and you can get 3 points for that. You can also get 3 points for a drop goal, which is when in open play the ball's passed to someone and they'll drop the ball and it has to hit the floor first. Then they'll kick it, and if it goes through the posts, they get 3 points. The last way of scoring that you can also do is a conversion. So this only happens when a try is scored. What happens is whenever you score the ball, the kick is then taken in line with wherever the try was scored. It can go any distance back, but it has to stay the same width as the post. And if it's kicked through, you get 2 extra points on top of the try. The most important rule that you must always follow in rugby is that the ball always has to be passed backwards. It can be kicked forwards, so as long as you kick it forwards, it's fine. But as well, the ball has to either be passed backwards or in line with you. It has to go sideways. It can never go forwards. So it can be a flat pass, which is directly to your side or behind you. But if it goes forward, that'll often be given as a scrum because a forward pass is always given as a scrum. If the ball goes forward and you drop it forward, it'll also be given as a scrum, and this is known as a knock on. The other way that you can also get knocked on is if you try and intercept a pass, for example. So when the opposition team is passing the ball and you try and take it off them in the middle of the pass, but you drop it, then that will be given as a penalty if you haven't made a genuine attempt to catch the ball, which is a deliberate knock on. Now, you might say no one's going to be deliberate. And that's the thing, it's whether you have the opportunity to actually catch it or not that decides whether it's a deliberate or just a regular knock-on. Next, we're going to go into tackles. So tackles are obviously the most important form of defence in rugby. It has to be below your chest height, so actually pretty much at the nipple and below. It has to be below there, and you always have to put your shoulder into the tackle and wrap your arms, otherwise it's classed as illegal, and that will often give away a penalty. If it's anything above the chest height, or if it's a deliberate shoulder charge and you don't make an attempt to wrap, it'll always be given as a penalty. Now, depending on the severity of how you tackle this can be given a yellow card, which means you will get 10 minutes off in the sin bin, so you're off for 10 minutes, or a red card, which means you're out for the rest of the game. Now, sometimes you can get what's called a 20-minute red card, which means you get the red card, you stay off for 20 minutes, and instead of you coming back onto the pitch, you can bring on one of your substitutes to come on in your position. But that only happens whenever it's not quite as serious for a full red card, and it can come on towards the end of the game. Now, another important part of tackling is what actually happens after a tackle. What happens after a tackle is you must go to ground and you must present the ball backwards. If you hold on to the ball while another team tries to take it off you, that's called a jackal, and will often be given a penalty because you're holding on to the ball because you have to release it. This is where rucks come in. So your defensive team will always try and secure the ball by pushing it over you and any defenders that try and come to steal the ball. This happens all the time in rugby. Every single time a player is tackled, a ruck will form. So they have to, it's essentially a fight in the middle of the pitch, and they wrestle each other to stop the opposition who are defending taking the attacking team's ball. The other main type of fight or contest that happens in rugby is called a scrum. This happens after a knock-on or a forward pass often, and is used to restart play. What happens is the 8 big guys, which is the forwards, will connect together and try and push against each other. Now, this isn't just a random fight. There's a lot of technique and skill involved in this. It's not just pure strength pushing it back, although there is a lot of strength involved, I will give that. But essentially, the props and the hookers will bind together from each team, and they'll all be bound by the rest of the forwards behind them, and you have to push. The hooker will then try and hook the ball backwards in the scrum, and it will always be given as a slight advantage to the team that's attacking, because the 9, who is the scrum half from the team, is the one who puts the ball in, and they'll often give a wee tap onto the hooker when the ball's going in, and quite often try and slide it slightly towards the team, although technically that's illegal, to try and make sure that the attacking team is the one that wins the ball backward. One of the other ways the plays can restart is if the ball is put into touch, which means it goes outside of the out of bound lines. This happens, and then a line out is given. So essentially what happens is the attacking team will throw the ball into the line out. There will be a structured play that will try and confuse the opposition. They'll then put often the second rows up into the air, and they'll lift them and throw them into the air, literally through them. The second rows will jump and try and bring the ball back to their side of the team. This is often always given an advantage to the attacking team, although often it is stolen, because the attacking team will know what move that they're trying to play. But if the defence can read it and they throw someone up and get the ball back to them, it's a fair turnover. What often can also happen at this point is what's called a maul, which is a little bit similar to a ruck and a scrum, but it doesn't ever go to ground. The ball is never on the ground. They will keep the ball up, and they will try and push the other team and form a makeshift scrum to try and push towards where the try line is. This can often be quite successful because the other team might not be expecting it, and if they can get set up very strong and rigid, they can often make a lot of progress by pushing this in the line. One of the main things that sets rugby apart from other sports is the culture around it. One thing you'll notice is there's a massive amount of respect for referees in rugby. The referee, if they deem you're shouting back or you're saying anything to the referee that they don't deem is right, they will absolutely penalise you, give you a penalty, or sometimes even a yellow card for dismissal. There is a massive amount of respect that goes on in rugby, especially for the referees. You'll also have people in the crowds. Often it has to be completely silent in the crowds when the player is kicking for the goal, because you're not supposed to distract them. There's a lot of respect that goes on in rugby. Obviously, there's the teamwork and the camaraderie that you see in the Boys of Tommen. Because rugby is drilled into you from such a young age, a lot of people face a lot of pressure, especially if they're going to be successful in rugby. I was involved in some academies growing up through Ulster, but unfortunately, I'm type 1 diabetic, didn't get the breaks, and maybe I wasn't good enough, but we'll not get into that. But this is where the pressure that Johnny faces comes into play, why he decides to play through such a horrendous injury. There's that tough side of, oh, I'm a man out that shouldn't be feeling this injury. There is that side of things. There's always going to be a part of rugby. But I think Johnny also had the pressure of he wanted to make it in rugby, and that was always his life. And that's instilled in him through coaches, through players, and it's instilled for a lot of young players at that age, which is why also Gibsie felt a lot of the pressure to do it at one point whenever he was in there. I know obviously he didn't decide to follow through, at least so far. But that was why he felt the pressure to do it, because there's so much emphasis put on rugby, which can be good because it's important. Like they said, there's so many positives of rugby, but it can provide a lot of negative pressure on a lot of young guys in rugby, especially in Ireland. We do have a fairly successful team, and part of that is probably because of the pressure put on it, but it also deters a lot of people. I know a lot of close friends who were in the Ulster setup they decided rugby was not for them and never even played socially after they were in the academy setup because the amount of pressure that they had put on them. So as a quick recap, it's 15v15. There is scrums, penalties and lineouts, which will always restart the play. There's 5 points for a try, 2 points for a conversion, 3 points for a penalty and a drop goal. The aim of the game is to outscore your opposition, and my position as number 7 is the most important on the position as a flanker who will do it, who will go and tackle anything and turn the ball over as much as they can. But I hope that this has given you a bit of an outline on what rugby is, and next time you read the Boys of Tommen or reread it, which I will plan to do at some point, then this will hopefully give a little bit more clarity as to what's going on in the series.